Greetings, fellow in time and space. It's your host, Tomoya Shadow, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back once again to the great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're going to be continuing right where we last left off in the last live stream. We had made it to the second trial in the great Ace Attorney 2 in episode 2, The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. So without further ado, let's get started right away with today's adventure and see what's in store for us. I don't want to see! 23rd February, 9:23 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Jesus! He is trying to be a cat again. This is it then, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, it's time to put an end to this now. To the miserable curse that has been plaguing Mr. Natsume. To everything. And in my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help you. I always appreciate your help, Miss Susato. Suffering Saseki selfishly sidelined! Ah! Good morning to you too, Mr. Natsume. Good morning? Good morning, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Listen to you two, chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here! Why would you do that? Why? Oh dear, we didn't mean to cause offense, Mr. Natsume. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly you were meditating, finding inner calm. It seemed wrong to disturb you. I was waiting! What's the matter, Mr. Natsume? You seem different somehow today. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, is a journey to discover one's own death. Or such like. That's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for. That's why I had my eyes shut. I missed the signs, I'm afraid. Somehow. You'll have to forgive me. You also talked of your path leading to you to death, Mr. Natsume. That was just an example! Oh yes, there it is. Inner calm. You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was sure you'd abandoned me and returned to our beautiful long-lost homeland. We've not even been in Great Britain a week yet. Yes, well, anyway, I intend to set everything straight in court today. I'm determined to uncover the truth. I've actually reached an important decision myself. Oh, what sort of decision? I shall fill you in after the trial. All right. It would seem Mr. Sholmes is coming today after all. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellows, you must win this battle on your own merits. It's a very clear message, I think, that he's overslept again. The great detective? My arch nemesis. Long may he stay away, if you ask me. Defendant and your legal representative. The trial is about to begin. Make your way to the courtroom immediately. Today, once again, we face the Reaper. And when the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. But I don't believe in that legend any more than I believe in Soseki-san's curse. The truth is hidden here somewhere, and I won't let it escape me. I have to keep believing in my client and keep fighting to the very end. That's all! February, 9:40 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. Yes, the defense is ready. Very good. And now I call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by lot to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to proceed? Absolutely. Justice will be done. You mark my words. I feel obliged to say, I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat is sitting just right. Oh, well, I wonder if you could adjust my hat for me. And please, be as ruthless as you like. Oh my god, stop. Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me. Especially gas thieves. I have no sympathy for the man at all. Look, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again now. I don't have time for this. I've got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here, and lead us flock to a righteous verdict again today. Now, Lord Van Zeeks, what can you tell us? The prosecution's report, please, for the court, in relation to the theory expounded by the defense yesterday regarding the defendant's tea. So he does have the results. Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the black god in the dark. Pray, allow me a moment to savor a liquid of a more sanguine hue. In fact, I'll defer to the good detective for the report. Here's to you, Inspector. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar of soap just outside the victim's window in the snow. And there was indeed a frozen reddish liquid in a little depression on the top of it. Yes, that's the tea. That's what Mr. Natsume brought with him that night. Well, the brains of the yard analyzed it, and yes, you're right, it was tea. And there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance in it. No poison at all. In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear. What a revelation! As I suspected. This makes it quite clear. The defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is blameless here. My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. What? Yes, it's true. No poison was found in the few drops of liquid recovered from the soap on the window ledge. But, what logic is that? Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that the water in the ocean isn't salty? My word, the water in the ocean is extremely salty, Counsel. Exactly. Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on the night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter was the precise word for the lips of Mr. William Shakespeare, whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Very well. I will uphold the prosecution's request. Mr. Shakespeare. Yes, it sounds like we're going to have another confrontation with our theatrical friend. Oh boy. Bailiff, show Mr. Shakespeare to the stand. Mr. William Shakespeare, the victim of this despicable crime. Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? Forsooth, 'twas I, Shakespeare, did have a bellyful of the foul fluid given, in mine innocence. Yes, but as was revealed in yesterday's proceedings, the witness is not as innocent as we had perhaps first been led to believe. By using bars of soap such as this, he has been stealing gas from the supply company, yes. One may smile and be a villain. Forsooth, 'twas I, Shakespeare, did have a roomful of the sweet fuel given. That's right, fellow jurors, don't forget, this man is a rotten thief! I haven't forgotten. Kept all that about the ice coins a tiny secret, didn't you? You should have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say! Arrest him at once! And let him feel a sting in my tail! Oh, indeed, by dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further mine own ends, I confess. Thou wouldst not pardon my sins, of that I am sure. If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here? Cowards die many times before their deaths, and for a coward such as I, death be well deserved. But would it that a still greater crime passeth unpunished? For lo, the hairy-faced gentleman of farther east than Verona did contrive to poison me. But there was no poison in the tea found in your room. The police have attested to that. What the defense would assert as an inconsistency will quickly be cleared up by the witness's testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shakespeare? Verily, my liege, I would most gladly speak. Very well. Let the witness testify to explain this inconsistency. Tell the court why it is that poison apparently entered your body, though none was found in the tea.
The Japanese man did come to my chamber with tea brewed in a pot. 'Twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, Ned did a drop of his own drink past his lips. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins of ice. Thus 'tis no surprise that poison be not found in the tea I did pour into the molds of soap. The poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. The normal way for poison to be administered, in my experience.
Quite. Otherwise, it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups, for instance.
But no poison bottle was found at the scene.
Because, quite simply, the Nipponese took the bottle back to his own room. The absence of a vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. I knew that. By now, it should be perfectly clear. A bar to cheap soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accuser's hands.
Sirs, madams, 'tis true that I, Shamspeare, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. Wherefore would I lie? Verily, I have no cause. I have naught to lose. Well,
I do declare. Thank you for your testimony, witness. Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. There was something he mentioned about the teacups. Don't I actually have something about the teacups in here? Hang on, let me examine these. Wait. Only one teacup has a stain in it. This must be the cup that Mr. Shamspeare was drinking from then. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid, even green tea. Oh, really? I've never noticed before. You've never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear. So many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture. And most of them are Japanese. Okay, so only one person had tea in it, in their cup. Wait a minute. Wasn't my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secret? No. While feigning distraction out of the debate, Ned did a drop of his own drink past his lips.
Objection!
Ah! In a number of ways, you say. That's right, my lord. In a number of ways. Perhaps it would serve you well to concentrate your efforts on one contradiction at a time, Consul. Well, I made a bit of mess of that, in a number of ways, actually. But that... Huh? Oh, wait! Examine the other cup. This is a teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. Always gulp it down, too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you the proper way to take tea. Ah, there we go. Now it makes sense.
Objection!
You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of tea on the night in question. But that's impossible.
How? Chop logic. What is this, ye dark, ye clad thing?
Ooh. Is that a grammar error? That's a grammar error.
You dark clan fiend.
The two teacups from the scene, one used by the victim and the other by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that represents incontrovertible proof. Incontrovertible? What difference? Look at the inside of the cups. Just here, there's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring. Commonplace enough. Indeed, such stains occur all too readily when one leaves tea in the cup for a while. And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such ring. Good lord, you're right! It's completely clean!
And prithee, sir, what make a style of it?
Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday. The Japanese saying he quoted. Drink tea while it's hot. That's right. Yes, the jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his usual self that night and drank his tea in no time. That face! That face! If, as you claim in your testimony, he didn't trust a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed on the inside of his cup as well after the several hours the tea was left standing. But, in short, Mr. Shakespeare, you clearly lied to the court. Get thee to a nunnery!
Objection!
As a rule, I fill my hallowed chalice up to 7 times during any one trial. You might want to keep that information to yourself. Yet on occasion, tedium distracts me and I'll pour more times than I intended until the bottle is dry. Your drinking habits are fascinating, but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fickleness of human memory. To William Shakespeare.
Yes, my liege.
Though you previously stated that you made the coins of ice from the leftover tea in the accused, could it be that you were perhaps mistaken?
Huh?
Could it be that, yes, perhaps there was some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene? A fact that had vanished from your memory until now.
Faith, my liege, thou art a magician. For verily, 'tis as though thou hast seen with thine own eyes that night.
What?
Forsooth, I was mistook. I did plan to use tea from the Japanese fellow's cup, but lo, when I looked, 'twas empty. And thus did I use the dregs that trusted in the teapot, as my liege did suggest.
And you've just suddenly remembered now that you made a mistake before. Are we supposed to believe that? People's memories are imperfect, my learned friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us 2 things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only, and secondly, that this spoiled cup was not the source of the insipid ice coins that have bewitched this court. The prosecution makes a fine summary of the facts. Furthermore, that testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. In other words... Oh, the cape's off! The inconsistency claimed by the defense simply does not exist. No!
What does this mean, then? I do declare, it means there's no issue with the gas thief's testimony.
Apart from the bit about thieving gas, obviously.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear, after I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery Alehouse that night, naught did pass my lips, but the black tea given me by the Japanese, whose back be stooped as low as death.
And on what did you dine, sir?
Why, I did partake of my favorites, a broth as would be called soup, and a leaf as would be called salad.
Isn't salubrious a menu as the established word it was served?
But you gods would give us some faults to make us men, Willingly would I suffer what punishment 'tis seen fit to serve a wicked thief of gas. But I pray ye wise and noble fellows, ne'er forget the simple truth. That be one thing, and this be another. Jurors all, your humble servant Shamspear doth entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins.
My lord! If I may speak, my lord. Yes, Mr. Foreman. I believe we may have been duped by that rotten defense lawyer. By me?
I do declare you may be right.
We all know the waif there was making coins of ice to make himself warm. But this lawyer lad says if he's stealing gas, he deserves a dose of poison, eh? He's been leading us up. He's been doing. I really never said anything like that. But what we just heard from the victim there has opened our eyes again. We've reached a decision this time, and we won't be swayed from it. The court acknowledges the position of the jury foreman, and will duly hear the jury's findings. What? No! You can't yet! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your decisions now.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
I hereby declare the jury to be in one accord.
Oh, happy day!
How is this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out a summation examination. Very well. The court upholds the defense's right. Typical. My learned friend is unable to accept the obvious truth. This trial will therefore enter its second summation examination immediately. Jurors, the court calls upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime of which he is charged. I'm a man of logic, me, and having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty.
I do agree that gas is far too expensive. I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid paying. The stuff explodes and it can poison you. It's absolutely lethal, gas is. Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes.
Truth be told, the tea my wife serves up for me is a little sketchy at times. If nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? I do feel that perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supply has influenced decisions somewhat. But never mind. No, you really should mind! The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as unassailable as we'd hoped. And Mr. Shakespeare was poisoned. There can be no doubt of that. Then how are we supposed to turn this around? I think we need to establish the method by which Mr. Shakespeare was actually poisoned. Only hope is to demonstrate that to the court incontrovertibly. But that's surely almost impossible at this stage. If you don't manage it, though, Mr. Natsume will be found guilty. No delays, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Water! Yami needs water! Whew, delicious. Okay. Seems like a lot of these statements are still talking about the gas thievery. So you know what? I'm going to press on you first. Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas? There's an all-out attack underway here, in case you haven't noticed, against my company's gas. And I'm supposed to sit here and take it? Am I? I don't think so. You're really buzzing now. All I've heard about our wonderful fuel is explosions and poisoning. What about electricity, What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here and there is nothing in comparison. Any explosion could hardly be described as nothing, madam. Nevertheless, the theft of your gas is deplorable. My point exactly. But the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more devious reprobates to contend with on a daily basis, you know. More devious? Who, madam? Other gas companies, of course. Other gas companies? Not quite what I was expecting. We generate gas and we deliver it to our customers fair and square. Indeed, nobody is questioning that, madam. Altamont is an exemplary gas company. But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all. What? But if they don't have any gas, how do they go about selling it to people? You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that. They steal your gas? How on earth is such a thing possible? Gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's homes via a network of pipes, but these devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. Then they make a contract with the households supplied by those pipes. They take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours, without us even knowing. They're diverting gas into their own pipes illegally. What a brazen form of theft! When we visit customers' houses to collect the money from their meters, we always have to check whether or not one of these devious companies have been up to its tricks.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, juror number 3? Oh, golly, you mean me? I'm terribly sorry, I was just thinking to myself. I really did catch him off guard there. Thinking about what the lady next to you was saying, correct? Well, yes. I just got a little riled about it recently, you see. Go on. An Altamont gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipe work. We need to ask for your cooperation while we carry out a secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in. And do you know what he did? I'm, afraid I have no idea. Please tell us. He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall. Then he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it. What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving away company secrets there. Oh, please, everybody knows, but it was very nearly the death of me, I can tell you. What do you mean? I'll explain if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connect their customers to our pipe network. Yes, but how does blowing into the pipes come into it? Obviously, there's gas in the pipes. It is at a fairly low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe would flicker for a moment. Ah, I see. In other words, if upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with your company flicker, you can know that these devious scoundrels have been meddling with the pipes. Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. It's the reason why we have teams of workers going around neighborhoods to investigate which lights flicker. The trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might. And you can guess what happened, can't you? Well, if he blew hard, then... Wait, you mean... That's right. The lights didn't just flicker, they went out, along with the stove. Gas started pouring into the house. What a disaster. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard, so the flames went out. I'm afraid I yelled at the fellow. Are you trying to kill us all? I said. So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe, it's possible to extinguish lamps and stoves connected to the same network of pipes. And then, when the gas starts flowing again, it just silently seeps into the room. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps, yes, this is almost certainly the clue that we've been hoping for. Juror number 3, the defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like, I don't mind. Well, I do. That's our company's secret method of identifying the rogues. Like I said, madam, it's widely known already. Very well. Juror number 3, you will amend your statement accordingly. Yes, my lord, although I'm not really sure what the point of all this is. Blow too hard into a gas pipe and you extinguish everything in the house, and then you're in real trouble. Yep. Pit these two together. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 6, did you hear what juror number 3 just said? Eh? What? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other. There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's tea did, in a manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips on the night in question. What? What explanation? I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall light at the scene to see if there were any traces of poison there? I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time, but the mouth of a gas pipe? Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance.
What a piece of work is a man!
What are you trying to say, Mr. Shakespeare?
What speakest thou? Prithee, is it not strange and strange? That is what I say to thee, sir.
I thought I'd been quite clear. Let me put it another way. The strychnine could have been on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came to enter your body. Good Lord! Are they tasted then? Gas pipes? Is that what he's saying?
Or is the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas?
Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him.
For shame, madam, speaking thy fancy. I assure you, I'm not such a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination. This is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips to the pipe that feeds it, he would have to be a contortionist. These are empty assertions. There's no possible proof that the man did as you say. It's true. I have no proof that Mr. Shakespeare put his lips to the pipe. However, I can say with some certainty that on multiple occasions, Mr. Shakespeare has been doing something in front of that lamp on his wall. And I have evidence to prove it. Alright, you've got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be so sure of yourself.
So would I. Let's see this evidence then.
Now that I've got the jury's ear, I need to make this opportunity count. This is the proof that, time and time again, Mr. Shakespeare stood in front of his gas lamp.
Take that!
What the? These are... Wait, what are they called? Yes, skin prints that were found at the scene. Skin prints, counsel? I've never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court, however.
My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. It reveals all of the places that Mr. Shakespeare touched in his room.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it?
Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure. I agree. This month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating.
We found skin prints in many places that you would expect. On the table, on the costumes. However, Mr. Shakespeare also appears to have been touching some very unexpected places in his room. For example, here. Around the hanging picture there, indeed, multiple handprints appear to be visible.
Well, I wonder, could he have been approaching the artwork, perhaps?
At first, my colleagues had thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands where those prints are, and you would find yourself directly in front of... Ah!
I don't believe it! The gas lamp!
Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear that Mr. Shakespeare has regularly been standing with his hands to the wall in front of that lamp. Right, what have you been up to, you nut? I'd ask the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement.
Me? What did I say?
You said that blowing into a gas pipe would make the lights of the entire building flicker. And now, if you'll recall juror number 3's statement...
What, me now?
When the gas worker who visited his home blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights in the gas stove to go out, and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is... if Mr. Shakespeare were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in his room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at will. Crikey!
Are you suggesting that the man purposely caused the gas to...
Objection!
Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during the summation examination, I must toast my learned friend's utter disregard for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord Van Zeeks? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints. Clearly, that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case.
But it's an exciting new forensic technique developed by a great detective.
Is nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands.
Ugh! Not again!
Certainly, even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Shom cannot be recognized by the court as formable evidence.
But...
Please, my lord, if I may. Miss Sister, it was not the defense's intention to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wish to present the results of the great detective's investigation of the scene, as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Ooh, nice save, Sisto. And, if the trial were to come to an end now, we should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree.
You're right. Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide.
Juror number 3!
Oh yes, I do declare, the great detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating, and I want to hear what that shady actor feller has to say about those shady handprints.
What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy! Well, I did say it, didn't I? And I don't like to break a promise. No, wait! You heard his lordship! It's not fair, Deacon! Evidence!
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. If just one more juror changes his or her mind, Mr. Natsume's trial will have to continue.
Thank you, Miss Suzuto, but I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh no, it was you who identified the clue after all. This is very much your success.
Ha! 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 He's sweating bullets! Ha!
Why, Mr. Shakespeare, you seem to be losing your composure.
Just one more juror, Mr. Naruhodo. You can do it! Very well. Continue, counsel. I'm a man of logic, me. And having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty.
Why do you say that?
All the evidence, you say? That's right, and there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at that Japanese man with the big mustache, says the Englishman with the bigger mustache. And the defense just demonstrated another possible explanation for the events on the night in question. What do you make of that? What, your so-called skin prints? It's an exciting new forensic investigation technique, developed by the great detective himself. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And if Mr. Shakespeare had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe on the night in question, it can't be denied that there's a possibility that's where the poison was. Well, yes, I wouldn't deny that it's playing on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of evidence. And besides... Yes? Even if the fellow has been up to some mischief with the gas pipe dozens of times before, it doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it? Oh. If you can't make your case better than that, I'm afraid I can't change my stance.
You do make a very valid point, sir.
What?
That's true. Perhaps I was a little hasty.
No, wait! Look, you've got your chance here, haven't you? So it's time to prove your theory. If you and your Japanese cohorts can, that is.
Just leave our nationality out of this, please!
Mr. Naruhodo, if we can't substantiate our position, I'm afraid the jurors that changed their minds before may very well change them back. What can I do? Is there any proof I could give here? Can I show that Mr. Shakespeare really did blow down the gas pipe on the night in question? I have supporting testimony. That's easy, because Mr. Natsume had mentioned he woke up to the smell of gas. No, in truth, I don't have evidence to support my theory. However, there is witness testimony that substantiates it. What's that? Testimony? This is incredible. Whose testimony? Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. A person whose testimony revealed details about the gas in the Garden residence that night. Namely, it's, Mr. Natsume. Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant. Mr. Soseki Natsume himself. The defendant? At the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Mr. Natsume said the following. My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! Even on that fateful night, it happened. When I returned from Mr. Shakespeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed to bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me! On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence, or not? Good golly! So that Shakespeare fellow blew air into the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out on purpose. Now hold your horses there. What would he do that for? He's sweating bullets! Mr. Foreman! What is it, man? We cannot allow judgment to be passed whilst this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet. However, you must surely agree there is more to this case than meets the eye. Ah! Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, I am a man of logic, first and foremost. As 4 jurors leaning towards not guilty, my lord, we've overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue. As the defense has rightfully indicated, the summation examination has concluded with the majority of jurors altering their decisions. 2 jury members now call guilty, 4 now call not guilty. Therefore, the jury's opinion is conflicted, and in accordance with the law of this land, I hereby order the continuation of this trial. Mr. William Shakespeare.
My lord, how can thy humble Shakespeare serve thee?
What say you in response to the various revelations made during the summation examination?
So God mend me, I do solemnly swear. I recall aught of either, the lamp or the pipe.
But your handprints have made a tidy mess all over the wall there. How do you explain that, eh? I am done with this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already. Juror number 5. Who, me? As I went to some pains to point out already, a print from the self-professed detective's toy has no place in a British court of law. Ah! As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall remains at this time unestablished conjecture. You will all do well to remember that.
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the gas pipe beating that lamp in Mr. Shakespeare's room to be examined. If there are traces of poison there... What appears to be extremely simple is my Nipponese friend's mind. You will recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnants of tea were required. Yes. Therefore, it shouldn't be beyond your wit to imagine that even if poison were to have been spread on the pipe, it would have to have completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. Ah! I didn't think of that. In any case, counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man to do as you described. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air to the gas pipe work where he lived? There's only one possibility that I can think of. And that is... use the leaking gas to commit murder! Order! Order! Counsel, precisely whose life do you propose this man was plotting to end? The answer couldn't be simpler. Now we've unraveled the mystery this far. Mr. Shakespeare wanted to end the life of Soseki Natsume. Easy. If a gas lamp were to go out, it would be noticed immediately, of course. But a gas stove, on the other hand, could be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing. I live around those parts myself, so I know what it's like. I can tell you, trying to sleep without the stove lit is pretty much suicide. You'd freeze to death in no time. Mr. Geradev, the landlord, has a large fireplace in his part of the residence on the top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger whose life Mr. Shamsphere was trying to end. Outrageous! I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He's the victim this man was trying to murder. Good gracious!
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved. Interesting. However, the fundamental facts of the case remain unchanged. Namely, that the accused is the aggressor here. What? How can you still claim that? Let's indulge your fancies for a moment and assume that there was indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question that then arises is, who put it there? Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is that the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill. Yes, that would indeed seem logical. If the assailant were unaware, how would he or she have known to lace the end of the gas pipe with poison? So now we must ask, how could anyone have known of Mr. Shamsphere's murderous designs? Ah, you mean to suggest? Naturally, the sole possible answer to that question couldn't be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could possibly have known. What? In other words, the person who put the poison on the gas pipe in what was a clear retaliatory attack can only have been the Soseki Natsu. Ah! Whatever Mr. William Shamsphere may or may not have contrived to do, he was nevertheless the victim of a potentially lethal poison attack. And the only person who could possibly have perpetrated that attack is the accused, Mr. Natsume. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to avert suspicion from the accused. Far from it. In fact, now that a clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established, that suspicion is greater than ever. Would you not agree, my Nipponese friend? Ah! Ah! How did he manage to turn that around on me so rapidly? Mr. Naruhodo, you must respond. Otherwise, the members of the jury may very well change their leanings against us again. And this may be our last chance to gain the advantage. What advantage? Well, it would seem that somebody put poison on the gas pipe in Mr. Shamsphere's room. So we must name that person now and absolve Mr. Natsume of guilt. You mean, name the true culprit? I know it might sound impossible, but if we fail to do that, I have no doubt that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed once and for all. As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, the poison, is all pointing to a particular person now. The prosecution calls to the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you'll make the correct choice this time, Mr. Foreman. What? Oh, don't you worry. We know exactly what... There is one other person who I believe could have been involved in all of this. The true culprit of this crime. The true culprit. A term found only in second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, my Nipponese friend. But why not? This farce has gone on for so long already. I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Thank you. Tell us, my learned Nipponese friend, what is your latest theory? Who is the so-called true culprit of this crime? Well, considering that Shamsphere is trying to kill people that's in Mr. Natsume's room, and I'm only guessing it's because of what was his name? Solden? has sold in, and of course his treasure hoard, the only person I can really think of is Olive Green. And that's mainly because Shakespeare has killed before. He killed Duncan Ross. So, it's you! The name of the person responsible for the poison that afflicted Mr. Shakespeare is, I believe, Miss Olive Green. Miss Olive Green! Miss Olive Green. I do feel as though I've heard that name in the recent past, Counsel, but I don't recall where. Miss Olive Green, the woman from 6 days ago. The victim in the recent case of stabbing on Briar Road. An incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add. Oh, of course, yes! Miss Green! She was left comatose for some 3 days, I believe, but I hear she regained consciousness 2 days ago. You hardly need remind the court that Mr. Shakespeare's poisoning took place 3 days ago. Given that the woman was lying comatose in a hospital bed at the time, she appears to have a fine ability. Alibi. Jesus, I always say ability whenever I read alibi for some reason. True, on the night that the incident occurred, Miss Green was in a hospital unconsciousness, so on the face of it, it would seem that she couldn't possibly be responsible. But still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in the hospital yesterday, and we found her to be in possession of a bottle of poison. Good gracious, she had poison? And there is another fact that links Miss Green to this case as well. The defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details to the court. Tell me, Mr. Shakespeare.
My lord, pray, what be thy bidding?
Are you acquainted with Miss Green?
No, never heard of her.
Nothing by the look on Mr. Shakespeare's face, I think perhaps he genuinely doesn't know her. At least, not by name. As the voice of Her Majesty's prosecution here, I adhere to my word. You will see my Lenin Nipponese friends false to his conclusion. I appreciate that. The prosecution requests a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here. Yes, Miss Olive Green. Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient. Very well. I grant the request. Excellent, I hope. The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation, I must say. But at the present time, I feel the prosecution's argument remains largely uncontested. Accordingly, I'm afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject of this court's attention. Thank you, counsels. We will reconvene in 1 hour. Court is adjourned. Wow! So there's a part 3 to this trial? This is one big chapter. Been recording for about almost 55 minutes. I think I will actually cut the live stream here for today because I do have a couple of things that needs to be done around the house. I am expecting some company, expecting my aunt to come and visit for a couple of minutes, probably to get some stuff moved out, to help her. And I'll probably have to help her move some stuff out and whatnot. But that's about all I got to do. So I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream here by saying thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the live stream, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check out Mother Roy's page or click the link in the description below. To achieve your dream, being Magaka, repeat the to you won't be disappointed. And of course, forget to click that little bell button if you wish to be notified whenever I upload a video or live stream to my channel. And most importantly, if you wish to see less space time, you can do so by checking out my playlist section. All my videos there for archive for your viewing entertainment, so you can watch the beginning of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, God of War, Sword on the Light, Fatal Bullet, and many, many more. Thank y'all for watching. As always, your host, Mario Shadow, sing along Z, and I'll see you for the next adventure. Goodbye, everyone!